That's the end of the sermon. The next part I want to talk about is just a brief update for the church congregation on some challenges that we have and that the lead team has, and we've been working on a message together to send you in a letter. And so I talked to Pastor about introducing that this morning to you briefly so that you can start praying about your opinions and how you feel about this. The lead team is going to start discussing with you a capital fund drive, but we're not going to go it alone. At some point in the next couple of weeks, we're going to send out a straw poll survey of everyone who attends and loves Riverview. The lead team knows we have a responsibility to the membership, and they'll make the final vote decisions based on the membership. But we want to know from all who love Riverview if we're on the right track or not when it comes to meeting the needs of what is becoming a very growing congregation. Now, this morning we're a little light, but I would tell you we're still above a normal summer Sunday until this last year of miracles, when we've been full all the time. And we know that when our church programming opens up in the next 2 weeks, we're going to fill this place. And it is wonderful. For those of us who are 30, 40, 50 years in this congregation, to see this happen is something beyond our wildest expectations, and we thank God for it constantly. But we do have some major capital things that we need to address in order to meet our changing and growing congregation. And so if we're ready in faith to move forward on a capital drive, and I'm really struggling with this, good thing I've got most of it memorized. If we are going to move forward, there's some things we ought to look at taking care of. We took care of the roof, which was wonderful, because if we didn't do that, we're going to have more expenses than we even know of. And it cost $60,000 to take care of the roof, and with a very quick $15,000 from you folks, and depleting all of our other resources of $45,000, we were able to get a roof on this so that there is no further damage that's going to be done. That was a critical first step before we start talking about what are the other things. So these are some things collectively, if we decided to do a full fund drive, that we need to look at. We need to look at the possibility of the west parking lot, removing the asphalt from the west parking lot and making it concrete to match the one in back. We have an unbelievable bid right now if we could come together before mid-October and allow that work to go forward. We'll never see a bid like that again. But that is a part of the expenses that we need to look at. We need to look at the west bathrooms. The only bathrooms we had before the expansions were taking place in this church, because they are 50 years old and tired. And we need to look at replacing the facilities that are in them, cleaning them, and then turning one of them into a family bathroom that can have a lock on it and the ability for people to get in and take care of the needs of themselves or their family in private. And we would do that with redoing the 2 bathrooms in the west wing. Speaking of the west wing of the church, with all of the things going on, we need to continue to update that in order to have an office for Pastor Teresa, an office for a youth leader when we're able to get one, and then offices for the other people that either work for us or volunteer to work. And so really all of that continues to be redone until that wing becomes the office suite, so that when you folks walk in, the very first thing when you walk in the door will be the front people in the office to welcome you, rather than coming down a hallway and wondering, what is this church about and how do I get there? And so all of that, we would really like to create an office suite that provides security to those who work here and a welcome for all of us who come here. We need to do some work at the parsonage. We need to insulate the garage, replace some fascia, and replace some stairway flooring. Those things need to be done. And on top of all of that, we really need to maximize the capacity of our sanctuary. And so we've had people come in and tell us the most efficient way to do that would be to remove that back wall and then move the center where Gary and Jeremy work back into what is now was called the crying room when it started. But with that back wall gone, we would increase by a capacity of about 50, and we would enter through what is now the cloak closet. That would become an entryway, and we could increase the capacity of the sanctuary in the most cost-efficient way. There is a possibility that we can get some funds to help us from the outside, and I'll talk about those. The lead team's estimating the total cost of that whole project would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000. And obviously the parking lot is a big part of that, but all of these things go together. We've been identified, and it's been told to this congregation, that we're the latest project of the United Methodist Dakota Conference Builders Club. And right now, for any money that's given to the Builders Club, they have a match. And so Madison was the last one to receive it. $15,000 was raised and matched, so the church got $30,000. So there's a possibility with prayer that 10% of our costs could come from people helping us in that way. But that still leaves the better part of $300,000, $280,000, whatever, that we would need to generate. We've done that before, and we went with almost no funds available when we did the beautiful fellowship hall and all of the Sunday school rooms. That happened right at about the year from 1998 or 9 we started and finished it in about 2001. But we carried a burden and a debt from 2001 for nearly 15 years before we raised, in 6 weeks, we raised $190,000 in 6 weeks, and were able to be debt-free and have been debt-free now for the longest time. And so we're not afraid to look at creative ways to put this together. One of the ways would be to raise a third of it, raise $100,000, make sure we have pledges in the next 2 years for the second $100,000, and when those are in place, borrow the third $100,000 and move forward. As again, we serviced a debt of $180,000 for many, many years as part of our regular giving, and we are discussing the possibility of doing that again so that we can meet the needs of all who worship here. If we were to go ahead with this, what we would want to know from you is, are you comfortable with us visiting with you about how you would participate in a major capital fund drive? But we need to know your comfort, because we don't want to lose anyone as we move forward. But I can share with you what we did with the last fund drive would be similar to what we would do now, taking in for inflation. First, there would be an invitation that would go out. It would not go out to everyone, but there would be a call invitation to find out how many would join us in pledging $10,000 over the next 2 years above and beyond your current giving. Some people would write a check right away, others would work it into a monthly, but we think we might be able to have 10 families that would be able to do that over 2 years, and that would be $100,000. If we could do that, we would move into a set of families who might be able to give $5,000 in additional over 2 years, broken down by month or by when the calves are sold, or however that works. We think by doing that, we could come up with nearly that second $100,000. And then the whole rest of the congregation, by whatever they could do with a pledge of $1,500 or a pledge of $500, we would have different steps that people could say, I would like to be on that step. I would like to be a part of it. So what's going on right now is we would ask you to pray about it. We'd ask you to be ready for an email that's going to come out that has been written by the lead team to have you look at. We'd like you to prepare to respond to a straw poll so that we find out, everyone, what your feelings are before the lead team and membership makes a solid commitment on whether we want to go forward. We can go forward just like we are, or we can go forward answering a call to meet the needs of what has become a powerful and dynamic congregation. So I just ask you to hold all of that in your heart, and don't hesitate to visit with a member of the lead team so that we know what you're thinking. If you like it, tell me. If you're concerned, tell Doug. But whatever works, find a member of the lead team and share your heart and soul about how all of this goes together.